Hi everyone, I'm Marie and we are coming to you live from Living Felt because it's Happy Woolly Wednesday! Hey everyone, happy Wednesday and thank you for being here. So many of you joining us for our birthday celebration. It's actually like our birthday all month long. So lots of cake and there's lots of fairy birthdays this month too, which is very apropos. Thank you guys so much for being here. Today we are going to needle felt a brand new bear. He has been named by the fairy crew Cookie. So meet Cookie. He's just a sweet little simple string jointed bear and he's our subject of attention and love today. So I hope you have fun with this really fun beginner project. But you know, even if you're advanced, if you've been needle felting, close to 20 years, it's still fun to do, I promise. So I want to say hi to some folks. Thank you everyone for joining us in the live chat. We're seeing you check in over there. Hey to Christian in California. Hi to Pamela, Tina all the way in Virginia, and Brenda also in California. I know we have lots of Texas folks here. Hi to Joan. Hi to Leslie in Oregon. Cheryl, thank you so much for being here. Wendy all the way in North Dakota. Christina all the way in Poland. And Sabina all the way in Germany. And everyone else, give yourself just a big round of hearts. Thank you for being here for today for a little birthday celebration with us. We are needle felting the string jointed bear because a string jointed bear was our very first product ever, and we shared that on social media last night. Holly is going to be showing you our original bear in just a few minutes, and the fairies want to show you some other things that you might consider for today's project. So if you're felting along, let us know that. If this is your first show, say I'm new in the chat so folks can welcome you. This is an interactive hour-ish, so ask questions, offer your own tips, and if for any reason we don't get to you, you can leave your comments down below. 2 chances to win prizes at the end of the show. Chat with us live or leave a comment after the show. In the meantime, let's just have some fun, and the first up to date is Miss Fairy Ann.
Hey friends, thank you so much for being here with us today. Tons of fun going to be happening later for sure. Today I wanted to share, we're going to be working with our core wool today. We do offer our core wool in 2 different styles. We've got core wool batting and core wool roving. The fiber is the same, they're just processed a little bit differently. The batting is going to be in a really, really long rectangle that you can either peel apart a layer or tear off a strip. The core wool roving is going to be about, it's about 3 inches wide, very, very long. And the fun thing about the core wool roving, we package it in these handy dandy bags, and the end is always going to be pointing up at the top of the bag, so you can just pull the string. It's ready to use. The core wool.
I do love that about the bag.
It's like, we're pretty cool. We're pretty cool. So the batting is kind of like the zucchini, right? And the core wool roving is like the noodle. It's like the noodle that you make from the zucchini. I've never made Kayla snort laugh that hard before. This is a big day for me.
We think it's a core woodle.
A core woodle. Thank y'all so much. Next up is Fairy Holly.
Hi everyone! So I'm going to show you our cute kit for our very best friend. I have absolutely fallen in love with this little guy. He's so stinking cute, right? I can't wait to see what Marie does with how she does the new one, and I think I'm going to go home and make a bunch. But this is our kit for our string jointed bear, and it comes with the MC1 and your needles and your foam and everything you need to make your little new best friend. So check it out and see the makeover this little guy gets for 2021. And now we have Fairy Kayla.
Hey everybody, Fairy Kayla here. I had some fun goodies I wanted to share with you today. I know Miss Marie is using MC1 in her bear, so I stole some from the shelf and I brought some up here to show you too. So we have over 90 different colors in MC1. It is fantastic for needle felting. It needle felts super smooth and is so easy to work with. Our sizes that we've got here, we actually upgraded this year to, you can get a 1/2 ounce, this little guy. An ounce would be the next size up. Got 2-ounce rolls here, and even 4-ouncer. And based on, product availability, we can even do 8 ounces and occasionally a pound or 16 ounces. So lots of goodies. And I know I missed last week's joke, and I feel super bad about it. So I'm going to tell you guys 2 jokes today. I have to tell the first one because I've been holding it in all day, and I think it's hilarious. So, okay, super important. Might save your life. Do you know how to stop a bear from charging?
How do you stop a bear from charging?
You take away his credit cards. So dumb. Oh, and my second one is, what do you call a bear that's also a dentist?
What do you call a bear that's also a dentist?
A molar bear.
Oh!
All right, there's my cheesiness for today. I'll get out of here and let you take over, Bree.
Thank you, Kayla. Can I just see a big round of hearts for the fairies? This is our magical crew. They answer the phone, they answer your emails, they make everything we sell, and they fill your orders too. So, plus they keep us laughing and the kitchen smelling like good stuff. So thank you all for being here, for joining us today for our little bit of a birthday celebration. We're going to be needle felting this bear, and I'm going to show you the original bear right here. His name is Berry Best Friend. This is the bear that Holly showed you, and this was our very first kit. So his colors are a little bit different from the colors that we have now, but I wanted to show him to you, and he's a little bit different from the bear we're going to be making today, but he's still very sweet, and he lives actually in a little box. So he's always on display, and I promise you that he's not quite as stiff as the things that I needle felt now, but I've never improved him. The same as with my very first needle felted piece was a little doll. I've never improved him because I like seeing what was the first thing I ever made. And this little bear was made early on too. So he's been around a very long time, and normally he lives in the shop. Oh, I have the wrong camera on, y'all. Sorry about that. I'm by myself today. I'm by myself in the studio today, so you and I are going to be doing this together, and Anne is in the field for support, and my sweet, beautiful husband, Rodney Jean, I saw him check in and say it was his first show. He's fibbing. That's my husband, y'all. And it's because of him that Living Felt even exists. So some of you might have read the story we shared on Facebook that I wanted to do instructions for needle felting a bear, and my husband and I at the time, let's see, I'm getting communiques probably from him in the field right now. He actually sold a guitar pedal and bought me a digital camera so that I could photograph this. And this was our very first product. We had a little eBay shop, and we just sold the instructions via PDF or snail mail all day long until we started offering kits one at a time to blah, blah, blah. So anyway, his name is Berry Bear, and he is the one we have a kit for, but Cookie is the one we're making today, and that's the first bear I showed you, and he's already been dissected. So I want to show you what we're working with. Today I'm making Cookie from our caramel MC1 batting. I'm going to be working with it. This is a 2-ounce roll that Kayla showed you, and this is what a 2-ounce roll looks like. We often get questions about what does 2 ounces look like, and it's also very thick. You don't even need the full thickness if you're covering something. So we're going to be working with caramel MC1 and also dark chocolate MC1 right here. And the closest for Berry Bear now, the kit comes in, this is our boysenberry. You might even like him in sugar plum and true violet. So that's a fun one to do. To start off today, we are going to be working with core wool. And this is very similar to some of the other little critter projects that we do, in that I like to build all the shapes, and because he's string jointed, then we're going to put him together. Now, I want to encourage you all, if you're going to be felting along, if you're just going to be winging this as you go, to kind of have fun with it and don't get too stuck on dimensions and things. but I have written down some approximate weights for myself so that I know kind of the weights of things. And the whole bear weighs just about an ounce, so it doesn't really take that much wool to make. And the Berry Bear kit doesn't come with core wool because originally when we first started, we didn't even have, core wool wasn't even a thing when we first started. But for today, to make Cookie, we're going to start by making the body at least out of core wool. And that just makes your dyed wool go further. Okay, cool. And I am going to be watching for some of your questions, and I'll pause from time to time so that I can work with you and see what questions you have. And just thank you all so much for being here. Really glad to have you here. Okay, so for the core wool, the first thing we want to make is very similar like we've been doing. So if you've seen the last few weeks, we started by needle felting eggs, and then we needle felted those eggs into bunnies. That was really fun. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to quick speed through making the body. I usually start with something about 18 inches long, and this is just the core wool roving. So for everyone who's watching for the first time, all the veterans, just offer a little patience. I'm going to speed through this portion, and let's look at it overhead. You've got your roving or your strip of batting all pulled out, and I like to have it 3-4 inches wide. The first thing I'm going to do is make a cylinder, and notice I'm making that really tight. We want this very tight. Tuck in the ends, roll, tuck, roll, tuck. You want the whole thing to be tight. The tighter it is, the less you have to needle felt. The firmer this undercore is, the easier it is to get a smooth finish on your piece. Since this is going to be the size of an egg, it's a little bit big, it's not something tiny like the head. If it's easier for you to kind of poke it as you go, that's fine, because your needles are only going to go so far anyway. But if your wool is very tight, then you can get away with just compressing it largely without doing a lot of needle felting. But the air has to be out. So if it's gassy and it's a loose roll, it takes so much effort to get it all compacted, and sometimes you actually never can. Now, when I'm making these eggs, when I make the bodies, they are like an egg, so I like them slightly tapered at the top and slightly wider at the bottom. As you kind of get towards the end of your strip, you can pull this off or pull it off here. If you pull this part off, the top half, then you can add that to the bottom in a minute. Just tuck this in to make the base bigger and leave the top a little more narrow. So remember the key, tight, tight, as tight as you can get it. Some people tie things in a knot nowadays. I know some people tie things in a knot to get things started. I really don't. I mean, I've tried it a time or two, but I kind of stick with this method of making just a really tight egg shape. And now you want to needle felt this just so that all those fibers are holding together and staying in place. I'm using a 36 triangle needle. It is pink and coarse. We have a coarser needle. It is a 32 triangle, and those tend to really poke right through. Something else you can try is your multi-tool. I like using the 42 triangles in a little cluster. So you can just a little more gradually attach things, but it's only going to work well if you really have that wool tight and all compressed. Okay. Now, when you get this base shape a little more like you want it, and it does take a little time, so build your core shapes when you have the patience to, so that you don't rush. Almost everything that we do on the show when we're building these undershapes are kind of sped through, and it actually, when doing it live, it takes a little more time to get everything really shaped and compressed. So what you want to do is needle felt this until it has that firm density that we're going for, and remember what that is, and it kind of has the shape that you want. So that firm density is if we're touching this part of our hand just like we're touching the wool, this would be like rare, a piece of, like if you were cooking meat, this would be rare, this would be medium, this would be well done, and this would be very well done. We're really going for like at least well done when we're pressing on our piece. So here's a little body that I made, and when you press it, it holds its shape. It's holding its shape. So we're kind of going for that. It doesn't have to be as hard as the table. You just want it to kind of hold its shape. And we're going to continue adding wool on top with the color and shaping that body a little more once we get the color in place. So your egg or your body, mine is about 2.5, 2 3/4 inches. I'm gonna grab my ruler. Use our little ruler here. And I'll just show you so you can get a visual. But have fun with yours. Yours can be just about any way. Okay, so that is 2.5 inches long right there. And width is about 1.5 inches, about 1.5 inches wide. So 2.5 inches long and about 1.5 inches wide. That's going to be the body for my little bear. Once you have that basic body shape, then I like to cover it with whatever is going to be the outside color of your bear. This is the caramel, and I wanted you to see what a full 2 ounces looks like. So it depends on how much you're going to be making of a project. You want to get enough to do the whole project because die lots can change from batch to batch, and we do make these in large die lots. We really do, but you never know when you might be in a transition. So if the color is really important to you, try and get enough, plenty enough to do whatever project you're doing, especially slippers or hats or something. The best way to work with this fiber is I like to fold it and tear it with the grain. It divides very easily, so you get into a smaller increment. And then I like to work with only as much as I need. So then we can just tear it in half. It's not quite in half, more like 1/3, pulling off a small amount. And now I'm gonna cover my egg, but I only need a little bit. So when we're doing something this thin, we can peel a very thin layer. And the layer you can double roll over, or you can cover it in 2 layers, or you can just go for 1 layer. And if you go for 1 layer, just make it thick enough that this isn't see-through, that you can't see the substrate underneath, whatever that is. Okay, so I am going to cover this in the wool, and now here's how I like to do it. Just get it towards the end, just like a present. You want just enough that's gonna kind of cover the edge here on both edges. So I will kind of pinch it and then pull it off. And again, you can revisit our needle felting egg tutorial. We did this in springy Eastery colors. So from here, I kind of treat it like shelf paper. We're going to needle felt this down. I'm using a cluster of fine needles, and this body is going to get a lot more needle felting over time. So right now, you just do an initial tacking down and then enjoy the process of just needle felting it down and getting it all smooth. You can always touch it up after you've added the needles in the arms as well. So here with this end, you always want this to be like tapered out. If it feels blunt, if it feels chunky, you can tear it off. Really all we want is it just to blend down and lay smoothly. And this is really the beauty of the MC1 batting. It's a crimpy, short fiber, and will really work great on needle felting miniatures, but also would be good for, it's also good for wet felting. We use it in lots of wet felting projects too. Let's see. I just read somebody said they struggle with egg shapes. And I'm missing who that was. They struggle. Oh, Laura Martin says she struggles with egg shapes. You know what, Laura? If you go for a basic like cylinder first, I find that most things are not felt at 100%, and you can shape it after you have the whole thing formed. So what you're going to do is just keep needle felting this down, and I kind of gradually cover whenever I do. So that means I use the finer needles when I cover. I put the outer cover on, whatever layer that is, and that allows me, just it makes it very easier for smoothing it out if you use your coarse needles underneath and your fine needles for the top layers. So take your time and remember when you feel like, if the fibers are loose, keep needle felting it. And if you feel like you have needle marks, instead of worrying about getting rid of the holes, just poke the parts that look like they're still sticking up. So take your time and keep using your fine needles, passing over and over your egg or your body, until it looks pretty much like this. You're just going to end up with a little tiny egg. Okay? So body part number 1, egg, and body part number 2 is just a ball for the head. So the ball for the head is made very much like the egg, except you can make it without even using the core wool. And that's a really easy way to do it if you're willing to. It doesn't weigh very much. I brought my scale. So I'll tell you how much these things weigh total. The body my body weighs 0.3, and the head weighs 1/10 of an ounce. So it's really very little. And to make the head, we're just going to do the same thing, except we're going to make it nice. I don't actually make my heads very round. I like to make them a little weird shape, like a little wider and a little flatter, but just have fun with that. Do whatever you want. But again, tear off just like a strip. And if you want to know, do you have enough? So here's my strip. Well, you can weigh it if you want to just kind of shoot for the same. So like this strip, which is the full thickness of the batting, weighs 0.3. So it's at more than twice what we need to make this head. So I'm just going to split it in half and 0.1. Perfect. So now we're just going to needle felt a ball. And again, we're just going to speed through this part so we can get on to how to make the rest of the bear. And thanks for being here, everyone. Just love having you here. Okay, so again, we start with the cylinder. We tuck the edges in, and this time when I'm making something round, the only difference is I tend to really alternate that ball as I roll. Really alternate it as you roll. Now, since you're working with your final color, you may be a little averse to using your really coarse needle, but consider using it even on the under layers. So you have all this to cover up, and then just get in here and start needle felting that core down a little bit. And notice that I really never let go. I don't want to let go. I really love having that density. Think about when you're felting, you're getting the fibers to entangle, but really when we entangle them, we're trying to encourage them to get very close together. Well, the tighter you can roll it, the closer they are together already. And that when you do pass your felting needle into it, it's a lot easier for them to entangle. When you leave a lot of air in the roll or the cylinder or whatever, it's like there's this big gap. And sometimes the felting needle will pass through this layer of fiber and the next layer of fiber, but can't join those two gaps together. So the closer you get them together initially, the easier it is going to be to have a nice dense piece, shape, whatever you're doing. Now, if you feel like you just get to the end and you're kind of liking the size of the head, you can always pull this off. Remember, you can always add more. You can always add more on top. And if you're feeling like you don't want to put in all those big needle marks, we're going to be adding a face and ears and stuff. Well then, for the moment, jump to your fine needles and tack all this down. The key is, if you're brand new, is don't stay in one place too long. Move your piece around and remember to go like from a draft shape, meaning get the whole thing kind of holding together, get the whole thing to be kind of a circle, and then go back and refine those areas so that it's really shaped like you want. Okay. And again, I'm just using my cluster. I find it to be a really good shaping tool, especially when I've rolled it very, very tightly in the first place. Okay. Jennifer says that Jennifer says that she needs to practice getting a tight roll. And I want to say that if you have a very firm surface, that does really help make it easy. And these foam pads are really dense. A lot of people's cats like to sit on them for some reason. The cats like take ownership, so get one for your cat and one for you. But it helps when you have this really firm surface to push into. So patiently, you know, just like as if you were working with a ball of clay or a ball of dough, keep shaping your little head until it kind of resembles the shape you want. Now, teddy bears can have all kinds of shapes. They can have a tall head. They can have a perfectly round head. They can be a little squashed. Think of like Bert and Ernie. Bert's an egg that sits straight up, and Ernie is an egg that kind of goes sideways. So there's lots of different shapes you can have for your head. And I always like mine to be like seemingly a little flat on top because it gives a little space for the ears. And I'll show you my little one right here. Okay, so this is my head, and let's measure it the same way we did the last one so you can see. So he is just about 1.5 inches wide right here, and he's about 1.5 inches tall. But notice he's almost like, I'm going to choose this to be kind of the top of the head, and the face can be, you know, if you have a side that's a little more flat and a little more round, just choose the one that you like. We're going to be putting a nose on ours, and I like the eyes to be inset, so I tend to choose the part of the face that's a little more round to build the face onto. Okay, so we have a head and a body, and we want to build arms and legs as well. So I want to show you what we're going for, and then we'll make some together. So here's our little arms. They're very cute and very simple, and it'll actually sit on the body just like this. Yours can be long or yours can be short. So we're going to make 2 arms right here. And then we're going to make 2 legs. Now, legs are really, this is all subjective, y'all. You're not going to get it wrong. Just have fun. Like, don't worry about getting any of this wrong. Just make bear. I mean, look at this first bear. His feet are way too big. All his parts are really fluffy, and he's loose, and his head looks like the Pink Panther, sort of. So you know how old I am now. He looks like the Pink Panther. So don't worry about it. Just have fun. And if you don't like the first leg or arms you make, well, make more. And so let me show you how we're going to make the appendages, the arms and the legs. And they're really fun to make. They're really fun and super simple. Okay, how big was the body? I think that one it's 2.5. The body is 2.5 long, and it's 1.5 wide. So it's about the width of the head, actually. Okay. To make the legs and the arms, we're going to pull out our favorite tool, which is a skewer. And I didn't grab an extra one, so let me do that. So this is just like a long shish kebab skewer. You don't have one? As Marie disappears. Oh, here's one. Okay. Long shish kebab skewer, one of my favorite, and these are very thin, actually. They're not the super thick ones. These are my favorite ones. They come in the bear kit. They come in a few of our kits, actually, and it's like my favorite thing to use. So when we make arms and legs, we're kind of going to go with that same width of a strip, almost like we used for the body. I think about 5 fingers wide, and the rolls are, I think we end up with about four rolls for a leg, but let me just weigh it so I give you an eyeball. I think it weighs, yeah, it doesn't even weigh 1/10. Let me see what 2 weigh. Okay, so 2 weigh 1/10. So we're talking like 0.05 in weight. It weighs very little. So roll a few up and see how you like them. Here we go. Here's my strip. Alrighty. Notice how big this piece is. It is about the size of my hand. About the size of my hand. My finger is a little bit bigger. And now this might be a little big, but we want those legs very dense. We want them to be very firm and very dense. So we're going to be sculpting these things down. And like we did with the body, we're going to take a little bit off the top. And then I like to make the feet sort of a little domed so we can pull a little bit off and add a little bit to the foot right here. So here we go. I like to start with the pointy end of the skewer, usually on my piece. Fold it over if you have a difficult time keeping a whole track of this or keeping it even, start here for a second with your little tip poking out. Fold this over so it's nice and tight. Get a medium needle like a 38 spiral on this one or a 38 star. Bring out your workhorse for this part of the project and at least get it started by tacking it down. Hi, Gunita from Latvia says she's normally asleep by this time, but she managed to get to us live. We're so happy you're here. Thank you all. Okay, here we go. So we're going to take this and fold down. Now, initially do whatever you can to get it firm. If you have to use your foam, do that to get it firm, but get a hold of it so that you can twist your skewer and get all this wool laying down onto the skewer. We don't want this part to get too tall. It can get a little bit tall initially, but do your best to kind of squish it down. And it's why I usually build off the tip. So our goal is we're going to build this whole thing without armature, right? That's the deal. So twist this down. And if you're having a challenge holding it in place, I usually just roll the whole thing up, but you want to keep the air out. So park it, mash it down on your foam, use your coarse needle, or it's your medium needle, and notice my angle. I am tacking this down and I'm going this way. I'm not going this way. I don't need to go this way. I'm trying to connect the fibers this way, adjust initially, and then roll some more. Now, when you get to this part, feel free to, I'm going to pull just a little bit off here. One of these is going to be the top of the leg and one is going to be the foot. The widest part is going to be the foot. So get this down, and now it looks really sloppy, but take your time and start to needle felt this shape into an even cylinder. Leave it on your skewer for a time until we really get it all laying down. So I'm going to work on this for a second and read what some of you are saying. Tracy says the big feet make a bear cute. There's so many ways you can go with a bear. So many ways. Okay, so now we're starting to get it all holding down. And the goal is to kind of make a corn dog on this skewer. Good, perfect for this color, right? Kind of make a corn dog so that it stays on here and we can let go of it. Right? So like right there, we can let go of it and it's holding together, but it looks really messy. And we've got to keep needle felting it and shaping it. One end is going to be the top of the leg and one end is going to be the foot. It doesn't matter which one, but you've got to make a decision. So let's say this is going to be the top of the leg. What we want to do is start tacking this down and shaping it. We still want it to be round in the beginning, meaning round this way. We don't want to make it flat too soon. And we want to get all of this leg pretty much to a nice even taper. Leaving this end loose because we're going to shape the foot out of it. And I hope I did the same on the one that I've been preparing. I did. This is the way I'm going. Okay, so this is your job right now, is to make this nice and dense. You don't want to use a multi-needle tool on this. You're going to break needles. You don't want to hit the skewer if you can, because you will bend a needle. If you bend a needle, it will probably eventually break. You're not going to have good luck trying to straighten them. So go ahead and keep needle felting this down. Now, if this needle feels too coarse, after a time, switch to your more medium needle. You might even switch to like a green 42 triangle, and meaning you're going to have a little more luck poking it at a little more rapid pace rather than driving it in like the coarse needles. But what you want to do is keep shaping this and getting out all the lumps and bumps and getting everything laying down so it's nice and even. Okay, keep shaping. Now this one you can start to round, like you can push it gently off, leave it still on the skewer, push it gently off, but start to shape this and get it a little more dense. This is going to be the top of the leg here, right here, and you want it to be dense enough that we can run our thread through it. So don't let it be sloppy. Give it a chance to build up a density, and the skewer just gives you a lot of control, and it also gives you a middle to needle towards. a middle to needle towards, because we're building this shape. Notice that what you don't hear is my needle hitting the foam. We don't need to hear this when we're working on such a small piece. We should just be going into the wool, not into the foam. So think of that middle as being a guide for you, okay? So you're gonna keep working on your corn dog leg until it's a little more shaped like this. It's kind of like my big finger. It may be a little bit bigger in parts than my personally, my middle finger. Right now, it is about 4.5 inches long. And if I were to take this foot and stretch him out as he is, he's about 4.5 inches long. So that's about how it looks. And what we're going to do is I'll make this the top of the leg and this the foot. So as we start to, we've got this all laying down, it's nice and dense. I can start to flatten this down, and we do want to use more mellow needles at this point, so that aren't going to leave these great big holes. And we're going to kind of flatten it on the foam, and you can always go into the end as well, because you're just making it a little more compact this way. It's important when you're needle felting shapes like this, not just to go straight in like this, but to also go from each direction and work all the way around. So keep shaping this, and when you're ready, you feel like it's holding together, you can take it off that skewer now, because we really have it firming up. It's time to start to shape this part and shape our foot, and that's pretty easy to do. But before we start to shape the foot, I like to firm up the end of the foot there. And I don't know if I'm probably not, you'll probably want to be a little more tight. And thank you for your patience as I'm solo driving this today. Okay, so I am going to go into it a little bit like this, but again, listen. We're not hitting foam. We're not hitting foam at all. Don't go all the way through, because that's going to make your piece undesirably fuzzy. Okay. Now, we're starting to shape this, but before we get this too firm, we want to start to shape the foot, and then we can compact everything where we want. Now, to shape the foot, I just use my foam, just like you would probably expect. We can bend it over, but first I'm just going to start to shape it a little bit. How big do I want that feet to be? So when you make your feet and how big do I want that feet? How big do I want that foot to be? When you make your arms and your legs, make both of them at the same time. And I like to use one of my coarser needles and just start to get that bend in place. And we're going to take the ankle down right here. Right in here. And now keep working, do both sides, and keep working the whole leg. As you firm it up, you're also smoothing it out. Firming it up and smoothing it out all at the same time. So switch your needles so that you're comfortable with it. And keep in mind, as we're doing this, that this part, the very top part, is going to be flat, because that's where it's going to attach to the body. But all the rest, I kind of want it to be. Now, it doesn't have to be flat. It doesn't have to. You can leave it round, but it's going to kind of get flat-ish. It looks kind of cute, too. This year, I'm making it a little more like a vintage bear. And we're going to shape all into the foot. All of it needs to be dense. And we're going to shape the back and the bottom as well. So you can put it over your little piece of foam, needle felt it down, right into the bottom of the foot, and needle felt the back of the leg here. So this is the back, to start to shape it and get it like you want. This is that's a triangle, sorry. That was a star. Spiral needles, I know y'all always asking about needles. Spiral needles were actually invented after the star, and the goal was to give you like the same effect of a star, but with leaving less needle marks. That's just kind of an FYI. So they're really close cousins. And now what you're going to do is keep shaping and smoothing your legs and your feet until they're the shape you want. So again, I want to go flat on the top. I want this little cylinder, and don't be afraid to get it nice and dense. Like, let's say you're needle felting and you feel like it's getting too small. If you're needle felting away because you're trying to make it dense, but you feel like the part is getting too small, don't be discouraged. It just means that you're compacting the wool as much as you can, and having a dense piece means it's going to hold up well over time to being handled, and it's going to do well when you create the string jointing. So you can always add more wool to a shape. Better to have it firm than to have it underfelted. Better to be firm than underfelted. So let me show you just adding some shape to the top of the foot there. And what you can do is take a small strip and only use as much wool as you need, knowing you can always go back with extra toppings. And this leg is very much in draft mode. I mean, I'm really going to get I want my legs to be like this, and that just takes time. It takes switching from your dense needles to your fine needles when you get to that point. But here, to make the toe bigger, start with a little strip of wool, tack it down with your fine needle, because now we're working on the final layers. If you have the patience to work with fine needles, then once you get a fairly firm piece, then it's a lot easier to get a nice smooth piece as well. So now we're just going to do a couple of wraps and build a bigger toe. Don't worry about all that stuff sticking off. The batting is just lovely to work with, that you can just get it to lay down like that. And then you're just going to blend first the loose ends here, top and bottom, all the way around. Lightly tack it down everywhere, and then just shape the toe a little bit. And once you have that roughly on there, it's almost like, doing frosting on a cake. You just gently go after it, and then you just smooth it out. So what I would do on these appendages now is continue shaping them and firming them patiently, trading between my fine 42 gauge triangle needles and probably my green fine needles. You might even like a 40 spiral, which is just like the green, but it's a spiral, and it also helps move wool gently, without leaving too big of holes. So it's the next finest needle in the bunch. So keep shaping your feet until you're happy with them. And we're actually going to make, the arms are actually a very similar shape. All you're going to do with the arms, however, is just make them a little smaller. So you're not going to make a big foot. We're going to make the top in the same way. You're going to just get a little less wool to make the arms. And then I just like to round this out, and to make the bend, I'm just going to put a very gentle bend in the arms until it's on the bear, until it's kind of, and hear this sound. You can tell how dense a piece is by how it sounds, if you can hear that. Misty says, do you have any videos on doing the big feet? And so Misty, do you mean the big feet like on this guy? This guy, how we made his feet is in the kit. But if you could just use this same method that I'm showing you, and notice, if you can see him, let's see, I'm just going to go top down for a second. If you can see his feet, they're not that much different. His feet are a little shorter, and so you're going to just keep wrapping wool in the footbed. The one I'm doing now is a little more like a little vintage bear, but you're going to just keep wrapping wool here so that you really build it up and make a bulky foot. So there's not much different instruction than we did just now on adding to this foot. Keep adding to the feet so that, and they get wide, but you can also just add the wool like, when you add it around, just make sure to flatten the bottom so that it doesn't get too round on the bottom. Make sure that one of the first places you're needle felting, if you just make that really big bulky foot, make sure you needle felt right into the bottom so that then you can arch the top and keep the top arching. So I hope that helps. So to shape the arm, Jenny says, all you do is bend and stab the inner elbow area. Do I stab the outer elbow area? Jenny, I don't shape that outer. I don't really worry about shaping an outer elbow on my little bears. You can. I mean, you can have as much fun with that as you want. So the kind of the way I approach it is, if you can push it to the shape with your fingers, well, then you can sculpt that shape into it. If you can push it, you can sculpt it. So if you wanted the arm bent like that, I would sort of get it to where you want and then attack it with your needle, but not just straight in. Remember to go this way and remember to go that way. And once you kind of get it holding, remember to flip it over and get that shape in there too. But for me, when I shape the arm, I just am I'm not going for a pointy elbow on what's supposed to be like a little stuffed teddy bear. I've never seen a stuffed teddy bear with a pointy elbow, so I don't really worry about it, but I do pay attention to this here, and then I'm going to go underneath and make sure that I needle felt that area as well and kind of shape the arm how I want. So the arms are just going to be less wool, just like the foot, less wool and a little more shape. Okay, let me see what questions I can answer so we can jump to the face, because I know we're going to run a little bit over today, but I want to jump into how to get to the face. You guys are talking about corn dogs and other stuff. Somebody says, Marie, we're sorry. I don't know why. I guess because you guys are telling jokes. That's okay with me. No worries. Okay, so let's look at how to make this little face. Super easy stuff. The first thing we want to make Cookie's face is to make a little ball for the nose. So we're going to pull off a tiny bit of wool here. And we are going to, it doesn't take very much, and you can always add more on. So I've just pulled off, it's not much bigger than my finger. I'm pulling off a little tiny bit. We're going to make a little ball for his muzzle, a very simple muzzle for him. Just kind of get that ball shape, and lightly, I'm just going to lightly tack it down with my 42 triangle yellow felting needle. I like to put the ball kind of low on his face. Now this is all we need. We just need it barely holding together at this point. So again, the top of the head, I want to be kind of the flat part, and I want the more domed round part, but I want his muzzle, if it's going to be round anywhere, I want it round on the top, and I want it a little lower on the face. If you're not sure at any time, use a little pin, find your spot, kind of put it where you want it, but that's about where I want it. Here's Cookie's face. It's going to be very low on his face so that we have room to put his eyes up top. So use your fine needles and start to attach it. You can use more aggressive needles, but I don't want great big gaping holes into his little muzzle just yet. I want to be patiently blending this part down onto his face, and then you can go after it and sculpt it even more. If it seems too big, if you just can't get it all to lay down how you want, well, rip it off before you go too far and put a new one on. If it seems too small, don't worry about it, because you can always pile more wool on top. You can always pile more wool on top. So now I'm going to jump. I've just barely kind of got that attached. I'm going to sculpt this down. I want the underlip part to be a little small, so you can start to see maybe where that line is going to be, and tuck in the sides here. Just have fun shaping it. There's lots of, you might look at some pictures of some of your favorite bears, or stuffed sewn bears, mohair bears. There's so many different shapes you can play with here, and this is just going for a very simple little muzzle. And I want it to be kind of scooped between here and the eyes. If for any reason when you make this join you don't like the line, or the line seems too hard, if you're working with our batting, you can just patch over it. So you can treat this like an under shape, and you can patch to cover up any of those seams and lines. Okay. I want to see if this, I'm way behind on y'all's questions. Okay. Glenda says she just did a Goldilocks and she wanted to make 3 bears. How perfect. Okay, so look, this is the kind of the shape of my muzzle, and we have to move a little bit fast on this show, but let me show you let me show you what to do if you don't love this line right here. Well, then we do what we call a patch. And so you're going to take a very, very small layer just like this, and any little seams or something that you don't love, just put that right over it, and then use your fine 42 gauge needle to cover it up. And you might do that intentionally. You might build under shapes and then just cover them up with your cover layer. It's just like, you know, working with the core wool, but in this case it's a little faster to get to the ball if you just make it out of the wool you have. You can make it out of core wool, but you don't have to. It's totally up to you. Now you can have fun shaping this little guy's face, and you're gonna wanna spend some time really needle felting all the sticky uppy parts so that you don't have needle holes. If you still feel like you have needle holes, you can, if it's really compacted down, then you can drag your needle across it, rub your finger across it, roll it on your foam and smooth it out. But if the wool starts to fray up, get loose, ball up, pill up, then it's just not needle felted enough. And it's worth spending the time to do that, to get it all laying down, because you want it to be able to, people are going to see your bear, they're going to want to handle him, they're going to want to love on him, I promise you. All right, so I want to get the eyes in place. I didn't bring my little black pins, but one of the things I do is use usually just little black straight pins to decide where do the eyes go. And I want these eyes, mine aren't even the same size, here's one that's similar. I want these eyes kind of close to the muzzle, and we want them kind of, I like them kind of in the face. So to get them in the face, then we need to kind of compress. So these are just my pins, they're not my eyes. We need to kind of compress that wool down and make a little eye socket for them. So I like to make my eye sockets. You don't have to, but it does look better if the eyes aren't sitting right on top of the face. So a little bit of an eye socket is cute. And then you can start to shape the nose a little bit, meaning this part, the bridge down to the muzzle. Shape it and just, you know, roll it around and get the kind of the slopes that you like, that you think are cute. You can add color to the muzzle if you want. Again, this was just based off like a little vintage teddy. All right, so we have his little face kind of coming together. For glass eyes, I like to use glass eyes. There's a few different options. In the traditional bear kit, we use these German glass beads. You get a couple, or you can buy these glass beads from us. They're 4mm glass beads. They have a real nice sheen, and we sew them in. We also have what's called an eye detail pack, and they come with these little loop back glass eyes. You would sew them in also. We show how to sew in the glass bead eyes, I think, on the Storybook Bunny tutorial. Anyway, our glass eye detail pack comes with a big long doll needle like I'm going to be using today, 2 sets of glass eyes, a black and a brown, and a little bit of our white and black wool, so you can do that. Or you can use glass eyes on wire, which is I'm going to be using today. We sell them in a few different sizes. They are hand blown, so sometimes they are, you know, slightly different shapes, but they all work. Okay, so these is a 4mm, and I just like to leave enough that I can poke them in there. Once you know that you have them in the place you want, then you can go ahead and glue them. And I think we glued ours last week when we made Papa Bunny. So you will just put a little dot of glue. Super glue is fine, just right in the eye. Some people like super glue gel. Some people only like the regular super glue, whatever you like. I like to make a hole with a 36 triangle needle. Just go straight in. Just go straight in. And poke them right in there. You can always move them around. If you don't love them, move them around, but poke them all the way in and get them in there so that they're not sitting right on top of the face. They're gonna look more cute. You can put dark in there if you want. You cannot. You can add embroidery floss. You can embroider the nose, like Berry Bear's nose is embroidered. It's just a satin stitch. You can just put a little fluff of wool on there like I'm going to do today and just make a nose. So it's all subjective. Let's see. So, to use wool for the eyes. Yes, you can use wool for the eyes. I just like a I just like using glass because they're fluffy. I'm sorry, I'm doing two things at one time. I like using glass because they provide a nice sheen. They catch the light, and that's really cute. So look, I just put this little fleck of wool down there. I start needle felting it in a line across, and like these noses that I've been making a little more like an oval rather than even having a point. Just play with that and have fun with shaping it how you want. Shape it however you want it to be. Right, tacking it down with my needle, just guiding it here. And whatever that shape is. Now, you could give him a whole mouth, you could give him a smile, whatever you want to do. Play with this, take your time. I've just been putting like a little strand of wool down there just to give him like a little mouth. So here we go. Just like a little strand of wool down there. Give him a little mouth. Just put it on there. You can roll it in your fingers if you want, or you can just put it on and kind of guide it into place. Tuck it right under the nose, and then run the rest, if you want, right into what would be the mouth line. Run it across. You can also use embroidery floss for this, and I think we did that on Storybook Bunny. You might give them some little sad eyes, like Berry Bear has some little sad eyes. We ran the embroidery floss, through the eyes and through the nose. Whatever you want to do, just give him a little shape. Well, let's give him some ears. No bear is complete without his ears, and I do have ears ready. I have one ear ready. Making the ears is pretty fun. They're just little guys. You can put some color inside if you want, or you can leave them bare. And I just take like a little tiny fluff or fold of wool. You don't want it so thin that you can't needle felt it into a thing. And you don't want it so big that you're dealing with all that bulk. So maybe about the width of your finger, letting the fluff come over, and one fold over is enough. So until you have this little half fold like this. So let's move our little head over here. And this is all I do. Start to needle felt it. If you have a piece of felt, let me show you. If you have a piece of felt, especially like a piece of wool felt or something that'd be a little barrier between your foam, bring that in right now so that you're not embedding this into your foam. So shallow pokes, start to get that shape, pull the edges until you kind of get the roundness. Now all of this you do want to firm up. You don't want to leave it unfelted, but for the moment, flatten the middle part and then peel it off and go back around the other way. This is just a real gentle little process. Take your time shaping these little ears and working them from both sides, leaving the end loose. In our bunnies, we used felt in the ears. You could do that if you want to also. I generally don't tend to do it on something that's so small like this. So we're just starting to shape it. And then what you can do is just go right into the edge. Now, if you have a tendency to poke yourself, sometimes we hold it between two, just like business cards. You could use two little pieces of felt or put on little finger thimbles, whatever you want, but you want to go right into the edge. And you can also just lay it down and do that too. Like something I'll do is needle felt towards my fingernail. So if you put your fingernail in there and just let that be a guide. You want to just make it a little bit round, leaving the end loose. And then if you want to add color in the ear, do it now. I've been doing just a little blend. I don't think I brought it with me. I've just been doing a little blend of the caramel and the brown so it's not too strong. And you just pull and tear and put it together. Okay. All right. So a little blend here, and just drop it right in the ear, tack it down. And I'm sorry we're going to go over, y'all. I knew this project would last a little long, and I forgot to tell you that we'd have to go a little long to get it done, but we're getting pretty close for my roughed out sketch bear. So that's all you have to do to get the color in. And notice that I'm using a 42 triangle needle with very shallow pokes so that we don't go overly through the back. You'll go some, but you won't really notice when it's on your bear. To put it on your bear is very, very simple. Tack your head down if you want. You can decide where you want the ears to go by first pinning them down. You could kind of pin them in place like we've done before and just get them both where you want them. And once you have them in, then I'm just going to use my fine needles and attach them outside and inside. And there's so much fun you can have with bear ears. So they can be on top of the head, they can stick straight out, they can be down low and kind of sad and cute. There's lots of different ways you can shape your ears. So just have fun with that and attach them, kind of get that shape going first so that you get them scooped in if you want, however you want them, and then attach them on the back. So from here, again with the batting, you're not going to see a lot of striations in the fiber. It's really easy to blend and shape it down. But if you have any lines that you don't love, just cover it up with a little patch if you can't needle felt it out. And needle felt all the way through until you have that ear just exactly how you want it and get both ears in place. So once you have both ears in place and your eyes, this is Cookie. This is Cookie 2. Hi, Cookie. Cookie 2. And notice this one is really, the only difference between these guys is this one I've spent more time on with my fine felting needle, just really going over it, making it nice and firm and smooth. But it's also been in and out of my bag a few hundred times this week as I sort of drag them back and forth. So once you have your bear parts made, you can consider whether you want to put color on the paw pads. And the color on the paw pads is really going to be just like we did with the ears. Just like we did with the ears. So quickly I'll put one on this arm here. And I'm just going to put it on the inside. So when you're doing that, make sure that you don't end up with two rights or two lefts. When you put your arms on and you have them shaped, that one's the right and one's the left. And it might help you if you kind of lay your little guy out at first so you know who's who. And that means we're going to put a spot of color right there on the paw pad. You can add to this, like Berry Bear has more... he has more colors on his paw pads. His paw pads match his tummy, and then his full body color is there also. You can do embroidery if you want. Lots of fun you can have with that. Lots and lots of fun. The most important thing is that if you make the pieces nice and firm so that they really hold up to being handled, but also so that when you go to string joint them, it's not doesn't misshapen. That's the most important thing. You want it to be strong enough that you can get nice tight string joints. And don't worry about getting these paw pads just perfect right the first time. You can always add a pinch more on if it's thin, or if you want to, shape it more in a particular area. And if you just don't love it, well, pull it off and start over. So tack that down so that it's nice and flat. Again, I'm using my 42 felting needles, and I won't have time to get mine here just perfect, but that's all you do to get your little paw pads on, is just use your fine felting needle and get it all laying down. Okay, so let's look at string jointing this guy. This is where you're going to want to have a nice long doll needle. The doll needle really just needs to be able to pass through the body. That's the most important thing. So if you have a shorter doll needle, this is the size of doll needles we used to have, it can still pass all the way through the body, and that's all you really need. Or you can get these great big, we have these great big ones now, so they both really work. We're going to be working with our embroidery floss. And we're going to be working with our button thread, and you can use button thread, upholstery thread. This is Coates & Clark button craft. So you want it to be so strong that you can't break it with your hand. And we want enough right now that we can go through the head and down through the body twice. So fold it over through the head, down through the body, plus enough room that you can tie a really good knot. So let's say 20 inches of thread 24 inches of thread would be really good so that you can tie it tight. I like to put the head on first. And I'll use my biggest doll needle, but don't worry. If you have one that's smaller, you can use those too. So first thing we do, now you can go through the top of the head or the underneath side of the head. For the very best join, go right through the top of the head. And we're going to cover these holes, so don't worry about it. So we're going to go through the top of the head, and you want to leave a little space. Come right out between where you go through. So here we go. We're going to take one into the head, out sort of towards the middle, and then leave a nice long, folded too much of my tail over, bear with me. Okay, so we're going through the head, and then we're going to go through the body. So right here, he's already been dismantled, so he's a little roughed up from, I had one of the fairies cut him apart as soon as he got off. So we're going into the top of the head and out the bottom of the body, and come all the way through, and then just take it off your needle. So now we're going to do it again through the other side. Through the other side. We're just going to move over a little bit so that we have a little stitch running through the whole body. So here we go. Back through the head, just move your needle over a little tiny bit. Come out close to where you were in the neck, in the underneath part of the head. Pull that through, and then back through the body. Just leave a little space. And the same with the bottom. Leave a little space when you come through. Not too big of a gap, because we want to fill that. With wool. So get it pretty close together, less than 1/4 inch if possible. And now here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull our little head onto our guy. Pull our threads. We get our appendages out of the way. We're going to pull it very tight. You're going to pull it down tighter than you think you need, because the thread's going to give a little bit when you tie your knot. And forgive that he's rough. It's just that he was cut open, and so I'm going to put him back on. Now, make sure you know which side's the tummy. If you put a tummy on him, then you're already happy with that. I like to have the tummy a little more flat in case I want to put a collar on there. So this is the reason you want either a really nice strong button upholstery thread or waxed floss. In our bear kit, we give you both so that you can check it out, but a waxed floss will grab onto itself. So now you want to crease that down so that you are getting an indent in the bottom of your bear, and that's honestly when you know it's tight enough. But if it misshapes, then it's probably not firm enough. So now we have a great little knot there. You can double knot it if you want, but just cut it off. That's the old residual thread under there. Just cut it off just above the knot. So flush. I like to put my scissors flush with the bottom of the body, because I'm going to bury all that thread in there. So now we can put on his arms and legs, and those are done in pairs, the arms together and the legs together. Again with our thread. And sorry, I've not been reading your questions the last moment or so. I'll try and catch up to y'all. And thanks for felting with me today. I can't wait to see your little bears shared in our group. Now, if you're not sure where you want these, again with the pins, or you can use a doll needle, and usually that's what I do, is I kind of decide what's that placement going to be. And if you run a doll needle all the way through, then you can say, yeah, that's pretty much where I want those arms, and that's pretty much where I'm going to tackle it. So that is the plan for him. And we're going to run the thread the same so that you have room to tie a decent knot. And in this case, we're going to go through the body and back out. We're going to tie the knot on this side where we came in. And you know what? There may be other ways to do this. And next week, I'm going to show you probably a slight deviation. But this is the way I do it. And so far, so good. So far, so good. Berry Bear is, well, he's 17. Berry Bear is 17 years old. Okay, so here we go. And I have lost your questions, but I'm going to try and find you again. So this is what I like to do. On this arm, I'm going to go ahead and take them off the needle, because I know what I want to have happen. And I know where I'm going in. And what we want to do is just run our needle right through just this side of the arm, not that side, just this side. And we're going to leave ourselves a nice tail, and this tail is what we're going to use to tie our knot. And then we'll go into where the needle is, where our big doll needle is, and then the same out on this side, So on this side, and you can take this big doll needle out if you want. I just wanted to show you where we are. So once you have your thread running all the way through, you know where you're going back in. You can take it out. You're going to bring this all the way through, and we're going to go through this arm the same way. Don't worry if you get it wrong the first time, meaning like you don't like the lineup. Well, you can just go back and do it again. It's pretty easy. We're going to leave a little tiny space. That's going to be our string joint, and just try and come back out right near the other one that you did and pull that through. Okay, so now we have a straggling arm over here, and we have this loose end. We're going to tie them together. So just push the arm up next to the body. That's really all you have to do. It's going to come together all by itself. We're just going to tie a knot and pull. Pull, 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 pull. Pull it tight. Look, he's like running bear. Pull it tight. And then when you do your knot, you're going to do your knot right underneath the arm. So make sure you have that tight. And now look how good those are on there. I mean, they're firmly on there just by running that through and running them underneath. So if you want, you can double knot it. Just cut it so that when you pull it, so that you don't cut the knot and you do cut the thread so they don't show. You know if you'll cut the knot because the arm comes off. So now we're going to do the legs the very same way. You're welcome to position them on with the doll needle if it makes you more comfortable. I'm just going to skip that this time, but I will tell you, depending on, now they don't stand very well, quite honestly, but if he's going to be sitting, you might kind of find that hip point where you want him to be so that the legs, let me run him over here so you can see him, so that the legs are how you want them. So you might play with that positioning there. And again, run your doll needle if it's easier for you to decide where they go. Sometimes I put them on with him sitting down and I like how it looks, but then if he were to stand, it looks really funky or they're uneven. So then I play with that because I would want him to be even if he were standing up. So I don't, like you can see now that they're uneven, but a minute ago it didn't feel that way to me. And that's why I say just, you know, take a little time and get them how you want them. So here we go. Last one. Thread our needle. Oh, I used the big doll needle. I wasn't thinking, well, so here's the demonstration of the big doll needle. It's the same deal. So here we go. Just run right into this part of the leg. And you can see now as we do this why it's important that your piece is firm. Because if it's loose and sloppy, well, then it's not going to hold up to being wrenched down with this tight thread very well. Now, this may not be perfect. Y'all forgive me since I did not mark my space with the needle. I'm willing to do it again when I get home. Not on camera for you. Here we go, through this leg. Back in this side. And then once we get these on, I'll show you how to patch the holes on the top and the bottom. Just for those who don't know, it's really easy. There we go. Just try and come out as close as you can. Sometimes it's harder with the longer needles because you get a different kind of angle going. So pull the first leg tight, scoot the next one in there, and let's pull everything in. I know it's kind of hard to see the black thread on the foam, but I think you all can see it probably pretty good what we're doing here. So pull tight, 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 tight. Tight, over tight. If you use the floss, the waxed floss, it's like dental floss, but not minty. If you use the waxed floss, then what happens is it grips onto itself and really holds onto itself, which is a real help. So don't be worried about doing these joints a couple of times if you need to get it right, just till you're happy with it. and you like how your little bear looks. And when you are happy, he's pretty cute. So that's Cookie. What we want to do is fill in his little divots, and that's super easy. All we have to do is take a little tiny bit of fluff, and I just call these piles. So tear some piles so that you have some density in there, and we're just gonna patch in that hole, just like that. Again, whenever you have these loose ends here, you want to needle felt, away from them, not towards them. If you go towards them, then you're going to create a line. But when you work with this batting, if you smooth it out like shelf paper or like frosting, you'll have really good fortune with it. Okay. Now, when you get to this part and you want to just remember just to spend some time with your 42 triangle needles, shallow pokes, but also change the angle a bunch so that you can just smooth out all of those lines. And this is our little friend Cookie. I want to see if I can catch up to y'all because somehow I lost all of you on my, I'm going to pick you up over here. Not that you know where I am, but I'm going to go over here and see. Can I see what you guys are saying? Bear with me here. Okay, so with bigger feet, he could stand to possibly, you kind of get into some balance challenges there. And let's see what else. Like the bears, you guys like the bears? He looks so easy. Yes, he's easy. You're making eggs and balls and cylinders and what? I don't know. What? You're making eggs and balls and cylinders and corn dogs, right? This is our sausages or wherever you're from. He's really, really easy to make, y'all, and really fun too. So Berry Bear was the first one. And Cookie is our 2017 bear. Not any more complicated, but we actually had never shared, we'd never done a video. And so this year we've gone back and been picking up some of our original or fundamental type videos. And I'll tell you, if you have fun with this project or you want to make this project, then you can come back next week and how we're blossoming the string jointed bear for our friends this year is Cookie is going to turn into Muffin. So Muffin is a furry bear. Let me show him to you up here. Whoops, he just bonked Berry Bear. So Muffin is a furry bear. He's cousin to Cookie here. And next week we'll be making him and I'll show you how to add fur to your bear. So if that's of interest to you, give us a heart. Please down below, let us know what was your favorite takeaway from today, or maybe if you're going to do a bear, or if you just don't even like bears, if you don't know why you just wasted this hour, or if you had fun, we want to know. Okay, so I know some people asked if there's a kit. Next week, we're going to have a kit. It's just a supply kit for, you could use it to either make Cookie or Muffin, or both if you wanted, so that you can make your string jointed bear and then apply the fur. But we're saving the fur part till next week when I show you how to do the blends and show you what's all in that. So it will be different from Berry Best Friend. That's what we'll do next week. And oh look, Anne is back with prizes. I told you there would be prizes, and Anne is coming right on time. What do you have, Anne?
Oh my goodness, so many good stuff. We have got, you can choose your prize today. So prize number 1 is the Berry Best Friends kit, of course.
The original.
Or we have got a MC1 studio pack of your choice. This one here is the Earth Tones kit, but you can pick any of them.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, because bears can be any colors. They could be yellow bears. Or
that's true.
Yes, I've seen a yellow narwhal once upon a time. I'm not talking about that yet, but but let's draw names for today, and then I'm going to tell you all a few more things. So first, let's draw prizes. Thank you all for playing with me today. Lots of fun making this bear with you. Anne's got one. I've got one. So we're picking 2 names. And if we don't draw your name, don't worry, because you can comment down below for another chance to win. Who do you got?
Alrighty, I have got Robin Bellick.
Oh, fun. And I have Deborah Wainwright. Congratulations, gals. You can pick one of our prizes from today. And if you guys had fun, I hope you'll consider joining us. You can share your bears in our Facebook group right over here. This is where, oh, none of my cues are working. Oh, well, that's all right. That's all right. You can share your bears in our Facebook group. It's just Living Felt Friends in Facebook. So search Living Felt Friends. You will find us. You can tag us on Instagram at Living Felt and share your images with us. We like to share those also on the homepage of our website. And if you're looking for more involved projects or even free, like needle felting a gnome or introduction to wet felting, join us at feltingtutorials.com. This week we just had a brand new class launch and a ton, record number of you signed up for it. It's Needle Felting This Rooster by the very talented Irina Hughes. So this is an entire class for our more advanced friends, and a bunch of you have signed up. It's on sale for like 2 more days or 1 more day.
2 more days.
2 more days. It's on sale, and it does come with a kit. So that's at feltingtutorials.com. Check it out, y'all. And until next time, me and Muffin will be back to see you then. We hope you have a very good week. Take extra good care of yourselves because you really deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Y'all
Right.
are awesome.
Okay. Bye, y'all. Thank you.